Hello Crowley Time listeners, I'm Barry McStay.
I'm Ben van der Velde.
And we'd love you to listen to Worst Foot Forward, our podcast all about failure.
Each week we are joined by a guest to discuss the world's worst something, from detective to invasion, train to horror movie. We dive into humankind's darkest depths in search of the absolute pits.
We've even had your very own Mr. Tom Crowley on the show, where he talked about the world's worst remakes and confessed his deep sexual yearning for Pac-Man.
On Worst Foot Forward, we've learned that conspiracy theorists think rocks aren't really hard, why one French physicist invaded the Channel Island of Sark, and how exactly to make a wasp gun.
While also uncovering the Railway Station of the Dead, the doctor who put goat balls into human scrotums, and the West End musical funded by bird poo.
Subscribe to Worst Foot Forward on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out our website, worstfootforwardpodcast.com, and join us for some fun-filled zero worship.
Excuse me, do you have the time?
Yes, but...
Hurry, tell me, I need to know the time.
There's a clock just inside the station.
No, now, tell me the time, now.
Well, now I'm not sure.
Yes, you are sure. For the love of God, what time is it?
Well, it's...
Yes?
Well, it's Crowley time.
Yes! Hello, and welcome to Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley. With me, Tom Crowley. I'm afraid I have to start this episode on a serious note. Given the current climate, I think it's only right for me to apologise for this episode in advance. I put this programme together with the best of intentions, but it's only now, as I'm about to present it to you, that I realise how irresponsible my decisions were and are. I am truly sorry for what I am about to have inflicted on you. It was a different time when I released this episode, several days after this apology was recorded. When you will have heard the inexcusable material herein, I guarantee you will want to contact me to insist, in the most severe terms possible, that I apologise. And to you I say that I have apologised just now, and I now apologise again. I am truly sorry. But once you've heard the episode that follows, that may not be enough. You may wish to take to Twitter to denounce me and this programme. You'll probably want to start a petition or write to your MP, and when that happens, I will gladly, once again, apologise sincerely. Right, now that's out of the way, let's get to the episode in question. It's a heady mixture this time around. We've got returning features, messages from history, and our first ever Crowley Time special investigation. Set your headphones to fun. This is London at war, marching shoulder to shoulder with those brave men and women striving to get on with business as usual in our nation's capital. See the best of Blighty shrugging off Hitler's bombs with a wink and a smile, a song in their heart, even after a heavy night of Jerry tapping at the window. Not now, Jerry, we're trying to sleep. Naughty Jerry. It's 3 months now since the bombs began to fall over London, and just a week ago the Hobbs family lost a significant portion of their home to a deadly raid. But see them here, picking through the rubble of what was once their life, working together as a family to salvage what they can. It was quite a shock, I must say. We've lived in this house for 7 years now, and now quite a lot of it, as you can see, it's not in the best condition. But we and our children weren't harmed, and we're very grateful for that. I lost an upright piano that had been in my family for generations, which was quite a blow. But then again, my father was killed. Yes, so that was something. Yes, brilliant. We asked the Hobbs family what they thought of the government's new approach to managing everyday British life during the German Blitz. It's the exhaustion, that's what really gets to you after months of this. Yes, so considering that, it's actually been a real boost to just pretend it isn't happening. Pretend what isn't happening? Well, I see, yes. She's very clever, my wife. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Yes, this is the Churchill Cabinet's new strategy for beating the Nazis at their own game. That game being the dropping of bombs all over the country. In accordance with government advice, since last Monday, the people of London have been absolutely adamant that everything is normal and there are no bombs falling at all. Just ask this Haggerston Welk vendor. Welks! What's that? No, I ain't seen any bombs. No, nothing like that, no. You must be mad. Welks!
But we understand that your home and your wife were destroyed just last night.
Oh, yeah, blimey, what, did you think I hadn't noticed? Very odd. Very odd thing to happen, especially when there's no bombs dropping. Know what I mean? Wink, wink. Welks!
And with the success of this strategy, codenamed Operation Blinders, Prime Minister Winston Churchill has taken the plan a step further and announced bold new steps for re-energizing the nation's cities.
In desperate times, boldness is key to victory. It is in that spirit that I am pleased to announce that from today, the pubs shall reopen 24 hours a day. It is the patriotic duty of every man, woman, and child to get lashed around the clock, to revive our great British economy, and to show Herr Hitler that we will never surrender, not while there is a gasp of breath in our bodies and a drop of alcohol in our bloodstreams. We have fought them on the beaches and on the landing grounds, and now we shall fight them on the piss.
The first night of round-the-clock drinking yielded mixed results. Of the 900 pubs which remained open overnight, 600 were obliterated by German bombs before morning, the enemy bombers likely attracted by the large amounts of light and the loud sounds of revelry to be found therein. This man survived a direct hit on the Nag and Spigot in Camberwell.
Oh, well, all but about 3 of us was blown to bits in the explosion, but what I say is, this is Britain! If I can't go out and have a few pints of an evening, what's the point in even having a war, eh?
But Churchill's new keep calm and ignore everything approach has been met with criticism from some circles. Leader of the opposition Hastings Lees-Smith, yes, that is his real name, described the move as monstrously irresponsible, pointing out that the total blackout and curfew measures previously in place had saved countless civilian lives and protected many key buildings and services. Lees-Smith continued to say that willfully abandoning these effective measures demonstrated what he called a total lack of understanding of the situation and a near-psychopathic disregard for human lives. In response, the Prime Minister replied,
Sir, I may be a psychopath, but in the morning, I will still be sexy.
To address the nation's concerns and shed some light on the strategy, the Prime Minister let us speak to his least popular cabinet minister, Matt Hancock.
It's priceless. People are angry with me because people are being killed by exploding bombs, and now people are angry with me because more people are being killed by exploding bombs. You can't be angry with me because people are being killed by bombs. They were being killed by bombs before. So many thousands dead.
Well, that certainly explains that. So, as Britain's cities face night after night of devastating assaults on streets filled with happy revelers, some setting off fireworks, we join with our Prime Minister in saying, what bombs? This is London at War, reminding you that what you repeatedly tell yourself doesn't exist can't possibly hurt you.
It's amazing how much history has to teach us, isn't it? Only the other day I found out that shoelaces were invented after shoes. Makes you think, doesn't it? But now we can stop thinking for ourselves entirely, as I'm going to throw to our subdenarian agony uncle, the shrink in short trousers, Wingnut.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, my name is Wingnut. I am a 5-year-old boy, and I am learning important new things every day. Like that it is nice when things are warm, but if they are too hot, that is bad. Welcome to Ask Wingnut, the show where me, a 5-year-old boy, helps you with your problems. I began doing this show to see if I could help people who were not having a nice time. But then I found out that a successful podcast is a very good way to increase awareness of your personal brand. And I can smell a sweet Start Right Shoes endorsement deal with my name on it. Thank you for all your letters and tweets. I am sorry if I cannot reply to all of them individually, but unfortunately I have been very busy recently with learning numbers and finding out what is corporation tax. Our first letter this week is from Tabby, who is 33. Dear Wingnut, Since lockdown began, I have been furloughed from my job as a Marmite marketing executive. I had intended to spend my furloughed time getting in shape and finally learning how to weave on a loom, but instead I have spent almost all my time playing video games. Now there is a chance that I might be back to work next month, but I don't want to go. I just want to spend all my time sitting on my rear playing video games. What should I do? Well, Tabby, I like playing puzzles on my mummy's iPad, and I know the feeling of screen addiction. My daddy says that in his day, he didn't spend all his time looking at screens. He would run around and play outside with his friends. But I have seen photographs of him when he was a wingnut, sitting right up close to the television and playing Nintendo, so I know that he is telling porkies. But I digress. When I have been looking at the iPad for too long, my mummy says that is enough screen time now and reads to me a book or plays educational toys with me. So I would recommend calling your mummy on the phone if you have got one, or maybe your daddy or a friend, and getting them to tell you that that is enough screen time and to read to you a story. Then you will know that it is good not to look at a screen all of the day, because your eyes will go square, and that is not cool, even if it sounds really cool indeed. Next, we have a tweet sent in by a nice listener who is called Colin from Red Car, who is 56. You can tweet in your questions too if you like, thank you, by tweeting at @TomCrowley and using the hashtag AskWingnut. Then my grown-up friend Tom will send your questions on to me because he is nice and he requires content. Anyway, excuse me, Colin56 from Red Car writes, Dear Wingnut, each morning and every night I take our dog Edith out for poo-poo and pee-pee come rain or shine. My wife only does this if I have been drinking heavily the night before. Ungratefully, Edith spends all night cuddled up with my wife. Can you help? Well, Colin, my friend Jerome has a dog. His dad says it is the type of dog called a little bastard, and its name is Rufus. When I would go around to play with Jerome, when that was socially responsible, Rufus would get very excited and give me kisses all over my head and breathe doggy breath directly into my mouth, which I did not like, but it was nice to know that Rufus loved me very much. Sometimes I could see that Jerome was a bit jealous about how excited Rufus was to see me, but he is a nice friend, so he did not make me feel bad. I think that because Rufus does not see me very often, I am more exciting than Jerome, who he sees all the time. So in your case, Colin, I think that if your wife walked Edith more often, Edith would be more excited to see you at bedtime. So it sounds to me like you should drink heavily more often. Thank you very much. Our final letter is another tweet sent in by @TheStoryBeast on Twitter. The Story Beast writes, Dear Wingnut, where do babies come from? Also, where do they go? Now, Mr. Beast, I think that you have made a classic blunder, and one that I myself have been guilty of in the past. One time my mummy was showing me some old pictures on her phone, and there was one of her with a very tiny little baby. My mummy was wearing all white and was lying in a strange bed. I asked my mummy, what little baby is that? and my mummy said it was me. I was very confused and went right to the closest mirror and saw that I am still the 5-year-old boy that we all know and love today. And my mummy explained that babies don't go anywhere. They just eat enough milk and food so that they can get bigger and bigger until they are a giant like Mummy and Daddy. I am told that I will be a giant one day, and if that is true, I only hope that I do not swing my big giant legs around and hit my shins on the furniture and shout a very bad word like Daddy is doing all the time. Being a giant looks very difficult. As for where babies come from, I have heard very conflicting reports, but based on the information I have been able to gather, it seems that a stork comes from the North Pole and vomits up a baby onto your mummy's toilet area. And for this to happen, your mummy needs to have a depidural and do a poo on the table. Hope that clears that up for you. Well, I could sit here and solve problems all day, but my daddy is distracted looking at the insides of his car, and now is the perfect opportunity for me to infiltrate the secret drawer in the kitchen full of all of the knives. Keep that under your hat, please. Remember that you can ask me for advice if you tweet at Tom Crowley and use the hashtag AskWingnut. And I, a 5-year-old boy, will try to solve your problems for you. Join me next time when I will be asking, masks in public, should they have Spider-Man on them or not? My answer might surprise you. Thank you for listening to me very much. I love you.
Hello, this is Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley, Tom Crowley. We can't take your call at the moment. Please leave your message after the tone. I'm calling to complain. Not about anything in particular. It's outrageous. I won't stand for it. This is beyond the pale. Oh, that's better. Thank you. Always glad to be of help. Now it's time for that special investigation I promised you. No, look. This is very serious. Stop enjoying it. Stop it. Okay, that's better.
Hi, I'm Janie, and this is a Habsburg bronze mortise doorknob.
It is sort of mesmerising, isn't it? Yeah, you could watch it for hours. I'm sitting with a man named Vaughan Cricket. He's just queued up a video for me. It's of a young woman named Janie licking a doorknob. The shot is an extreme close-up of the doorknob in question, with the young woman's tongue swirling around it as noisily as possible. We never see Janie's face, just her tongue working away frantically at the doorknob and her chin occasionally jutting into frame. Is it always a young woman? No, sometimes it's a man. There's all sorts making videos now. Women, men, non-binary people of all ages, all races. Does it matter what sort of doorknob it is? Oh yes, it's a tapestry. It's this huge tapestry of combinations. Every video's different. Vaughan is introducing me to a phenomenon, a new type of video content which began as a niche internet curio but has spread worldwide to become an obsession for many millions of viewers. It's called ODPR, or Oral Doorknob Palpation Response. And in this Crowley Time special investigation, I'm going to try to find out who likes watching people lick doorknobs and why.
Crowley Time!
Special investigation. This is a good one. The Crapworks satin brass. Right, and why is this one so good? Well, it's hard to explain, really. Why are any of them good? But if you had to try and explain it. Well, I don't know. But please do try to explain it. Oh, right. Well, it's the soothing action of it. Round and round. Round and round. Vaughan. Yes. So there's the action of it. There's the sound, obviously. This one's very splashy. Very splashy. And it's a well-preserved doorknob as well. Still very shiny. No rusting or staining. That's quite pleasing. Does dental hygiene make a difference? Well, this has just occurred to me, but this chap, Riku. Yes, Riku. We can't see much of his face, obviously, but from the look of his tongue, the little glimpse we get, I don't know, I can imagine he takes care of his teeth, his oral hygiene, like his breath wouldn't be unpleasant. Well, now, see, that hadn't even occurred to me. Really? So, I mean, you can see how much there is in these, how many layers that people might not ever even notice. Right. I'm going to think about that every time now. Vaughan told me that he has watched at least 5,000 ODPR videos since he discovered the genre 2 years ago, and he doesn't regret watching one of them, apart from 2 where the person had put the camera the wrong way around, and 1 which turned out to be the music video for Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. But apart from those, he insisted that he didn't regret 1 minute spent watching people licking doorknobs. But where did this unique form of video art begin? Remember Janie, the first ODPR filmmaker we heard from? Well, she wasn't the first to lick a doorknob, but she was one of the genre's earliest and most successful exponents. I spoke to her about her influences.
Oh, it was quite a few years ago now, it must be 5 or 6 years. I spent a lot of time on Dug Up, the forum.
Where people share unusual links and videos and things.
Yes, that's the one.
They've caught several serial killers through that forum, haven't they?
Yes, but actually there's also a very supportive community of completely innocent users there, actually.
Yes, right, sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, I was clicking around in the sub-forum Uncomfortably Comforting, and there was this video. It looked like a transferred VHS tape or something with the scan lines and everything, and it was just some person, you couldn't see who it was, just licking this doorknob. I didn't know this at the time, but it was a Victorian rim.
What, the person? Or...
No, the doorknob.
Right, I see. How did you feel seeing that video? I imagine it must have been a bit of a surreal sight at first.
No, not at all. Immediately watching it, I just felt this tremendous sense of relaxation just wash over me.
Really?
Yeah, Instantly the sight of it made me forget all my troubles. I was away with the fairies, like magic.
And that's the feeling you've tried to spread to others through your own videos?
Exactly.
Do you have any idea what causes that sensation, the ODPR feeling?
There have been studies. People under hypnosis have said it takes them back to their infancy, to breastfeeding or being fed from a bottle, which I can see the logic of. Some others think it's just a sense of contrast, the very soft tongue on the very hard doorknob.
Is that what it means to you?
No. For me, it's just something new. A new sensation, a new sound. People don't lick doorknobs, but now they do.
So it's pure sensory enjoyment, you think?
Yes. Except that if you're making a video, metal tastes awful, and the painted knobs are even worse.
Opinion may be divided on the nature of ODPR's appeal, but one thing's for certain, it's more popular than ever, and its reach is ever growing. Vaughan, do you think people are going to get tired of these videos? Isn't this just a strange fad? Well, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but it's not a fad for me. I don't think I'll ever get tired of them. There are some I've watched over 100 times each, and there are new video creators appearing all the time, and well, as long as there are tongues and as long as there are doorknobs, I think it's here to stay. So, only if there was some sort of apocalypse event that targeted specifically the world's doorknobs and everybody's tongues, and only then would that be the end of it? Oh, dear, yes. What a terrible thought. But we'd still have the videos. All these thousands of videos. Vaughan, I just have one question. Usually, when you're watching these, under normal circumstances, when nobody else is here, are you, wanking? Oh, yes, constantly, throughout. My record is 3 wanks on 1 playthrough, and that was a 10-second video as well. Right.
My best is 7 wanks on a 30-second video, and it was one of mine.
Gosh, wow. Well done.
Thanks.
So, for both the viewers and the creators, it sounds like there's a lot of life left in this vigorous pastime. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this Crowley Time special investigation, then, I don't know, good for you, I suppose. To each their own. Just watch out for friction burn. From the doorknobs, I mean.
Crowley time!
Special investigation.
Nice special investigation. ODPR is so 2019, Grandad. These days it's all about filling your mouth with uncooked rice and singing songs from Hamilton.
I can't keep up with the blooming internet, you know. 1 minute it's cakes that don't look like cakes, the next it's Jacob Rees-Mogg's secret human hunting syndicate. Anyway, sod that off for a minute because it's time for something even more terrifying. It's our Theatre of the Nightmarish, also known as Drama Parlour. Spooky tidings to you, shipmates. I'm Sir Chantley Buffingham, and welcome to my Drama Parlour. Tonight we set sail for terror in Jack Cragthorne's hellish short story of the waves, Kraken Won Out. "Call me Obadiah," said Obadiah Mortensen in reply to the ship's captain, who had just asked what his name was. "Hello, Obadiah. Stop gazing out to sea and get mopping up that puke," replied the captain. The ship's cook had lied about his nautical experience and developed severe sea-sickness due to heavy winds and a particularly kinky moule mariniere. "And you, scallop scrubber," he continued, pointing an accusatory peg finger at the green chef. "If you're going to build your barnacles, do it over the side." Captain Matthias was not the cleanliest man, as evidenced by the rats nesting comfortably in his beard and the remora eel sticking to his stomach, nibbling at his discarded morsels, but he wasn't completely without standards. His crew rightfully chastised, he turned heel, one flesh, one carved elaborately into the image of a buxom South American woman, and retreated to his quarters for a rousing round of Tickle the Bosun. Obadiah sighed and mopped alternately, trying to ignore the ceaseless heaving of the cook, who spasmed vomitously against the ship's bow. The pirate's life for him, he thought to himself, with massive irony. When he had been enlisted by Captain Matthias in one of the Cornish coast's most fruity night spots, the seafaring life seemed full of camaraderie, fresh sea air, and buried treasure. Now here he was, mopping up fishy-smelling puke on an uncomfortably warm evening in the Caribbean on a painfully dull smuggling mission. Their consignment? A hold full of tons of pickled cabbage and erotic literature which had fallen off the back of a Spanish galleon, my lad. Perhaps, Obadiah mused, a career in bookkeeping might not necessarily have driven him to drink and suicide, like it did his father. However, these musings were cut short by a brief oasis of silence. The heaving sound had stopped. Or had Obadiah merely developed the ability to filter out the sounds of chunder out of sheer necessity? No. For an instant, there was only the soothing sound of the waves crashing against the hull, but only for an instant, as in short order there came an almighty scream. The scream was the exact pitch of the first note of What Shall We Do with the Drunken Sailor, but was held for much longer, and did not summon up the prospect of cathartic bonding exercises, but rather horror. The poorly cook was nowhere to be seen. Obadiah and the other deckhands raced to the bow and leaned over, only to see the stricken-looking cook at the very point of being pulled beneath the ferocious waves by a colossal, muscular tentacle. While the rest of the crew screamed bloody murder to get the attention of the captain, Obadiah stood bloody frozen at the impossible sight he had just witnessed. That was no squid, no, nor octopus neither. The tentacle which he had just seen was at least the length of a mizzenmast, or cricket pitch, or other period-accurate reference. The sight of it had filled Obadiah with fear, no doubt, but also something else. Something he hadn't felt since he'd embarked on this voyage. Something he hadn't felt so strongly before in his life. Captain Matthias burst out of his cabin, still clutching his bosun, and bellowed over the hubbub of the deckhands. "Someone better have died or found a way to turn salt water into tits, or else I'm going to have the whole lot of you pushed onto an oar one after the other like a big dickhead kebab." Eloquent though his threat was, even if he didn't specify whether it was the dickheads or the dickhead kebab that was big, the crew disregarded it entirely and continued screaming and babbling. The captain waved them aside with his peg arm and cursed them with his peg mouth as he marched across to Obadiah. "What did you see?" he demanded of the quaking boy. "The cook," said Obadiah. "Some sort of incredible appendage got him." "Tentacle or lobster claw?" barked the captain. "Tentacle," replied Obadiah. "Then it's true," said the captain gravely, scowling at the waves. We are in Kraken waters. The crew, overhearing this, immediately fell about and started weeping like a huge bunch of Jessies. Control yourselves, men! The captain kicked the babbling seamen as he stomped through them. Batten down the hatches! Fetch the muskets! Someone stop that big wheel at the back from spinning around so fast! But the captain's efforts were all too late. Obadiah watched, his mouth agape, as another enormous tendril burst from the foamy surface of the water and swept the captain clear off the deck, his body bursting apart in a shower of wooden accessories at the impact. The crew were a hearty broth of panic, splitting their time evenly between praying, wetting their pantaloons, and singing strange, frightened songs. They were easy pickings for the Kraken, whose vast, craggy body now loomed high over the side of the ship. Its many tentacles plucked the crewman from the deck, hither and thither, like a first-time sushi bar patron, while Obadiah gazed at the Leviathan, now overcome with that same strange feeling he had sensed at his first glimpse. It spoke of unbuttoned blouses on summer mornings, fleeting glances of neighbours' underthings on washing lines, peeping at the grotty smut in the hold. There was no doubt about it. Obadiah fancied the absolute arse off this sea monster, and while it might seem a little premature to say it, he was certain this was what true love felt like. He couldn't explain these feelings. He knew not whence they had come upon him, but he watched the creature's 100 limbs scraping the deck clean, and wanted to hold each one of them in his arms, to pepper their slimy suckers with kisses, to disappear into their folds, and, in an instant, his wish was granted. He felt his left leg snatched out from under him, and his entire world turned upside down, very literally and metaphorically, as he was lifted up and over the edge of the ship. As he neared the hulking body of the monster, its enormous dark shimmering eyes bored straight into his. The Kraken raised its cavernous mouth above the waves to swallow its prey, and Obadiah stared deep into the wet, fleshy pit of its throat, lined with needle-like teeth as long as scimitars, and his heart begged to be devoured. Yes, my darling, yes, swallow me whole! Just before Obadiah was consumed by darkness and lust, he managed to whisper his final words. So, come here often? As quickly as it began, it was over. The Kraken disappeared back down into the deep, leaving not a trace. The ship drifted unmanned for weeks, until another vessel happened upon it by chance. On board was found an armory, untouched. Tables set for dinner, but no diners. A hold full of coveted pickled vegetables and pornography, unclaimed. No evidence of the crew or their fate was ever discovered. The scene baffled all who witnessed it, and the incident quickly passed from mystery to tall tale to legend. Thereafter, for generations to come, seafaring folk with a rum in their hand and a twinkle in their eye would tell the inexplicable tale of the good ship Krakenfucker 9000. The end. A chilling account, I'm sure you'll agree, dear listener. But have we not all felt a love that was inconvenient at some point? Have we not found ourselves misled by the stirring of our loins? And have we not all wanted to have sex with a mythical creature? I know I have. Join me next time in the drama parlour for more tales of unsettlement and bewildery, listeners. Full speed, dread.
Sorry, just an update. The Hamilton Rice thing, it's over, mate. It's over. Abandoned ship. The new thing is squeezing whoopee cushions full of yogurts between your thighs. Mark my words.
Well, goodness me. I bet you're all still reeling from that, and understandably so. Once again, I am so sorry. Even more so than before the episode began. I look back on myself then, from 20-odd minutes ago, and I don't recognise that person. That person who was about to release this kind of material with seemingly no remorse. But that's no excuse, and I can only apologise for that relative stranger's actions. At this moment, you may find yourself wondering what all the fuss is about, and might be thinking to yourself that nothing in this episode seemed especially unpleasant or offensive. If that is what you're thinking, I'm sorry to say that you are part of the problem. You must go from here to a public forum of your choosing and apologise at least as enthusiastically as I have. Sorry, I don't make the rules. If you've heard my pleas and my apologies and you still somehow want to encourage me to make more of this programme, curse you, you beast, then you can go to patreon.com/CrowleyTime and become a supporter today. For just $2 per episode released, you can gain access to all bonus material, past, present, and future. Once you've signed up, you can download this episode's bonus, a brand new short story by me, Tom Crowley. Despite my crimes against hilarity, I think we're all agreed that one thing that's helped us all to get through lockdown since it began is the chance of a good laugh now and again. We always need new voices to learn, to grow, to become refined, and then to assault us with barrages of jokes which make us laugh until we wheeze, and cry, and wet ourselves. It's one of human existence's most crucial needs. As such, if you're a resident of the United Kingdom, I hope you'll join me in signing the open letter calling for support for live comedy. The British government's recent Arts Rescue package doesn't cover any live comedy venues, and I can tell you that if these venues are lost, we'll lose a generation of comic voices whose careers were ended before they even began. I can also tell you that if these venues had been lost 15 years ago, you certainly wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now. So give the country a much-needed laugh today. Go to savelivecomedy.co.uk and join the fight to save one of Britain's finest industries. That's savelivecomedy.co.uk. Otherwise, it'll just be all endless police procedurals and talent shows on the telly. And fuck, may I say, that. The next episode will be released when the flying ants finally achieve their goal of all flying into each other at the same time to create the shape of a person and then getting a job at a promising tech startup. So make sure to subscribe, so you'll be alerted at the precise moment that happens. Everything you've just heard was made by me, Tom Crowley. Please submit all praise, questions or complaints to @atomcrowley on Twitter. To help me build my very own throne made of paper money, go to patreon.com/CrowleyTime and become a supporter today. And remember, there's no point closing the stable door after the horse has bolted, unless it is a very bad horse and you want to make damn sure that bad horse doesn't get back in.
I must say, it is also my enormous pleasure to announce that we are ending free parking for soldiers at military bases. Now all military personnel, both domestic and allied, will have the pleasure of paying £2 an hour for parking their jeep or their tank or whatever outside military buildings. We are also charging admission for the beachfront at Normandy, so we'll be making a pretty penny out of that in the next few years, not to give anything too specific away, wink wink. It is only through bleeding our brave frontline forces dry that we shall defeat the scourge of fascism and raise the Houses of Parliament's brandy budget to a level which is acceptable. These brave soldiers have given everything to fight for our freedom, but could they not give more? These are the questions we must ask ourselves in these times of adversity, when the wolf seems ever closer to the door.